if you don't trust that data, it's not just a good idea, it is your solemn duty to insist either on a larger scope of work or walk away from the assignment.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
All right, everybody, today's podcast is sponsored by Alamode Software. Alamode is the software that I use for my report writing. You should be too. Check them out by going to Alamode. That's ALAMODE.com, or pick up the phone and call them at 800 Alamode. Data Master is saving me time every single time I use it. It makes it well worth the investment. Check it out. It's datamasterusa.com. Again, it's datamasterusa.com. Finally, we are sponsored by a great company called OREP. OREP is my E&O. It's the one I've used for many, many years. When we switched over to a new company, guess what? They went with the best company out there, OREP Insurance, OREP.org. All right, folks, it just keeps rearing its ugly head. We keep talking about it. I'm sorry. Folks, I promise this is not where I want to spend my time, but I can't help it because I think there's some misinformation out there, and I feel, obligated, maybe is a word. I mean, if you're going to run an appraiser information podcast, you need to get some information out there, right? Now, folks, let me make something very, 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 very clear up front, because I've been falsely accused, I'm going to say. I'm innocent of all charges. He was such a nice man. He just lived down the street. We had no idea. Folks, I can tell you, regardless of what you think, regardless of the past episodes that you feel like you heard, okay, go back and listen to them again. I have never been an advocate of desktop appraisals. Okay, now, I know some of you are screaming and yelling at your phone right now. By golly, Dustin, I know you have been. I know you. I've listened to you for years. You're an advocate of those Folks, listen, I'm an advocate of making money, period. And I'm an advocate of quality work, period. If I can find a way to make money and do quality work and feel like I can be ethical, moral, and legal in the process, okay, I'm going to do it. And I don't care if it comes with a title of desktop or 1004 or narrative. I don't care. I don't. That is the most honest thing you're going to hear me say for a long time. I love making money. I love being successful. I love spending less time in my business and more time on my business. All of the things that I've been teaching for over a decade now. 700 plus episodes, folks. If you don't know me by now, well, you don't know me. But I have been accused of being a shill for the AMCs. I've been accused of being, an individual that's behind the scenes getting paid under the table to push these desktops. Folks, I can tell you without reservation, this is not true. If it were, boy, I'd be living in a lot nicer house than I am, all right? I'd be driving a lot nicer car than I am. Bottom line is, I am an advocate for seeing reality. I don't consider myself an optimist. I don't consider myself a pessimist. I consider myself a realist. And when I look at an opportunity, when I look at a situation, I'm going to look at it through the lens of success, okay? I'm going to look at it through the lens of this is what's on your plate, my friend. Here's Thanksgiving dinner. There's no turkey this year. Okay, how are you going to make it work? And I'm going to make it work. I always have. I think I've got a pretty good track record of taking what is given me and finding a way to make it better, to be more successful, to have a higher quality work, to have a faster turn time. Now, I will state this up front, and we're going to get into the meat of why we're here today, as you can see from the title, in just a little bit. But folks, I've been doing desktop appraisals for a very long time. Now, they are not the 1004 desktop, okay? I want to make that very clear. That is a very specific form that Fannie and Freddie have collaborated together on and put out there, and you can find it in your total software. Okay, type in 1004 desktop, you'll find it. It's out there. As of March 19th, these things have been going. As of March 19th, we see orders for this kind of thing. Okay, this is happening. It's going. Now, will it last? I don't know. I don't have any insight. I do know this. I did hear a rumor from somebody who did talk to someone who was pretty high at Fannie Mae who said, this is our focus moving forward. We're going to try to get this for all appraisals moving forward. So I don't think there's any secret out there about that. I don't think you have to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody to figure that out. I think it's Fannie Mae has made this very, very obvious that this is the direction that they want to go for a variety of different reasons. But folks, I could not give a flying crap, pardon the language, whether or not Fannie does this or not. I'm going to always look through it through the lens of, can I make this work for me? Can I make this work for an appraisal company? And as a coach, as a mentor, I've spent a lot of time with individuals over the last several weeks, helping them to see that possibly if they look at this through a different lens than the original, and folks, I had the same visceral reaction that you had when I learned that this was coming down the pipe. I had the same concerns that you have, and one of the concerns that I had is the same concern that we're going to be talking about here in a little bit. But I do want to help you maybe, possibly, look at it through a little bit of a different lens, if we can possibly do that together today. But folks, I'm no different than you are. I've been appraising for 27 plus years. And anytime there is change, I'm going to be a little bit skeptical. Frankly, folks, that's my MO. I'm the most skeptical person out there. Ask my wife. I truly am. That is my personality. I look at everything through the lens of, what about this? Now, that is very short-lived, because once I kind of see or think I see where things are going, my next question is, how can I take that information and find some success in it? Okay, so if you want to call me an advocate for desktops, okay, whatever. I'm an advocate for making money. I'm an advocate for being successful, and I am not going to be like many others who I've talked about on this program, not by name, of course, I would never do that, but many others that I see out there who are pounding their feet and crossing their arms very sternly and saying, I will never, ever, ever do a desktop. Folks, that's a decision that you've got to make, and I highly respect any individual who has thought through the process, who has considered every aspect of it, and then made that decision. And I mean that. I've said that on a past episode. The episode had something to do with scooping ice cream. Go back and look at it, okay? I'm very clear in that particular episode that I have not just no problem with, but respect for an appraiser who looks at this situation and says, I've looked at this, and I've run the numbers, and I've run the liability, and I've checked with my gut, and my gut says no. I'm not going to do them. I'm going to move on and do something different. Now, I will say this. Those individuals out there who say that if we as an appraiser community bind together and boycott these things, that they will go away. I'm sorry, show me the evidence, because I don't believe it. I don't. I think if appraisers refuse to do this kind of work, they will find another way to get their valuation done, and it will not include you and I. I firmly believe that. Fannie Mae is not going to take a second seat to a bunch of appraisers boycotting the desktop system. They won't. Trust me on this, okay? Now, that being said, I look at reality, I look at it from all angles, and I study it out, and I look at my dollar per hour, and I look at the liability, and that's something we're going to talk about in just a minute, okay? I know that's a big one. I don't think anybody would argue with me that the pay per hour, at least from what we've seen from the major AMCs out there, is that big of a deal. I think there was a concern about that in the beginning. I think there were many appraisers out there that said, "Oh yeah, here it comes. They're gonna roll these things out, and my $600 fee is now going to be a $200 fee." Right? Well, folks, that's not happened. Your $600 fee has become a $525 fee. But who the heck is looking at this through the lens of a fee anyway? What a silly way to run a business. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. I hear it all the time. I won't turn on the computer for less than $500. Okay, fine. Don't turn on your computer for less than $500, folks. I won't turn on my computer for less than $150 an hour. How's that? And I can do that with a $600 appraisal, and I can do that with a $525 appraisal. All right, when we get back from the break, I want to talk about the latest. It's not really the latest, it's just ongoing, right? But I want to talk about the liability issue, and I'm going to use a Facebook post. Yes, I know, it's my MO, right? I'm going to use a Facebook post, not telling names, not even telling the group this person was in, not even giving you any identifiers, but I'm going to share with you in general what was posted this morning and my answer coming up. I want to pause here and remind you that we are sponsored by Alamode software. Alamode is the software that I use to write up all of my reports. And folks, they're right on the cutting edge. I had Joel Baker on the program recently. And folks, he knows what's going on. He does. And the people there at Alamode, they know what's going on. They know the changes that are happening to the valuation world, and they are right there making changes along with the world that we are finding ourselves in. If you want a company that is up to date on what's going on, and they're going to keep you in the know, and they're going to keep you active and successful, it's Alamode software. Alamode can be found at alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE. Speaking of time, speaking of dollars per hour, folks, what is your dollar per hour? What are you worth? Would you make more money if I could save you about 40 minutes on every single report that you do? It's a no-brainer, right? Now, you've heard it said here so many times that it probably just goes in one ear and out the other. I'll save you 40 minutes per report, 30 to 60 minutes per report. Okay, sure. Folks, I'm telling you, it's true. And if you want to save 40 minutes per report, you can check out DataMaster by going to datamasterusa.com. Once you get there, find out if they're in your area. Folks, they're in most areas out there. It would be rare if they're not in your area. Check them out. Go to datamasterusa.com. One more time, datamasterusa.com. Finally, we're sponsored by E&O from OREP. Folks, several years ago, I got introduced to OREP. I was with a different company. I didn't really want to move, not because I was tied to the other company, but, it's a pain to move, right? Well, it's not when you're going with OREP. Talk about an easy one-page application. You fill it out, you turn it in. They do all the work. They are insurance brokers, okay? Now, what does that mean? That means they're going to shop it around for you. That means they're not going to give you whatever you come to the table with and the first thing that pops up on their computer, they send it to you. No, they shop it to different carriers with your unique situation, and they make you the most money by saving you money on your premiums. Check them out. Go to orep.org. That's OREP.org. All right, brothers and sisters, welcome back. We are talking today, I know, about desktops one more time. But folks, here, let me set this up. Okay, let me spew a little empathy out there and let you know that I've been as concerned as the next guy when it comes to data. Okay, specifically when it comes to the desktop reports, there's this tiny little certification that's gotten a lot of play on the social media boards, and it should. Folks, if this is not something that's a concern to you, I'm sorry, it should be. And that's the certification that basically says that the appraiser is taking responsibility for the data. And specifically, the appraiser is taking responsibility for that third party out there who is gathering the data for the desktops. Now, I want to make it very clear because there's been a little confusion on this, okay? So there's two different things out there, if you will, two different products out there that Fannie Mae is pushing. They're getting very confused because of a tiny little stipulation that Fannie Mae threw out with regard to the desktops, okay? So the two products that are out there are hybrids and desktops. It should be very clear to any kindergartner the difference between the two. Okay? The reason it's not is because Fannie Mae went and screwed it all up again. Okay? So number one, the first thing that we're talking about is a hybrid. A hybrid is when a third party goes out and does an inspection, takes photos, sketches the property, takes all the notes with regard to the amenities and the quality and the conditions. Sound familiar? Something we've done on 1004s for many, many years now. Okay? So a hybrid is a third party, not a member of your office, goes out and takes all the data, the information, and then through the AMC or the client, that will get sent back to the appraiser who takes that data and then values the property based on the data that is being received. Okay, that is a hybrid. A desktop is pretty straightforward, right? It's a desktop. You sit down, it's 6:02 in the morning, you've just had your morning coffee, you come in your bunny slippers and you sit down and turn on your computer because, you're going to make more than $500 today, so you might as well turn on your computer, and you dive in based on the information that you can find online. Google Street View, Satellite View, taxes, MLS, a prior report that you might have done, on and on and on. There's a lot of different places that you can obtain the data from. Okay, here's the problem, and this is why these two products are getting mixed up. Fannie Mae came in and said, yes, it is a desktop, but, and there's a big but here, a big one, a really big but you need to have not just a sketch, which a lot of us can get from the county, but an actual floor plan. And they've described that the difference between a sketch and a floor plan is that the floor plan has the rooms and they're labeled and the interior walls and all of that jazz. Okay. Now, I don't know about you, but I cover, 17 counties. I kid you not. We're in 3 states. Our office is big. We cover 17 counties. And I think maybe 13 or 14 of them have sketches on a regular basis. Okay. But none of them, 0, have floor plans. None. Okay. So then the question comes, well, where does this come from, Dustin? Where do we get this floor plan? Well, there's companies popping up all over the United States, and one of their sole purposes is to fulfill this requirement for Fannie Mae, that your lender, your AMC, the client can go to one of these third parties and they can get a floor plan. It's a Matterport plan. It's a Kubicasa plan. It's, there's several others of them out there. And the whole deal is they deliver that information to you, and then you take that data along with the other data that you can collect and you perform the appraisal. Is it still a desktop? Yeah, I guess. But here's the confusion, right? What's the difference between that if you've got to send a third party out to get a floor plan and a hybrid, right? There's not a whole lot. It's kind of silly, the lines that they're merging. But nonetheless, let's put that aside for just a second, and let's put on the table why we're here, why we've gathered here today, brothers and sisters. I was online this morning, and I could not help myself. I had to comment, okay? But this was an individual that basically posted and said, listen, I'm doing my first desktop. Not done with one before. I was provided the information. By the way, they were quick to point out that they got a full fee. Okay, I think that's important to know. They didn't want to get attacked for that, because that's been a steady thing happening on the blogosphere lately, right? If you post that you're doing desktops, everyone will attack you that you're selling everybody out. So it's not, hey, I'm doing I'm doing a desktop, but I'm also making $3,000 for it. By the way, okay, just so you're all sure that I'm not going to underbid anybody here. But that's beside the point. The concern was, this is my first desktop, and I don't know that I can trust the data. Okay, that was basically, it was a much longer post than that, but that's the gist of it. Hey, doing my first desktop, it's a full fee desktop. I don't know that I can trust the data, okay, because I don't know this third-party person that went out to gather the floor plan, okay? Folks, that's a great question. Again, kudos to the individual that posted the question. Kudos to the appraisers who are concerned about this particular thing. I've been concerned about this particular thing, but I want to maybe provide a different paradigm today. Okay, a paradigm is how you look at things, the lens that you look at things through. Okay, we all have our paradigms, we all have our bias, we all have our things. Okay, I want you to look at this maybe through a little bit of a different angle, because the complaint that I've heard online and many appraisers have this concern is, how can we trust the data if we don't know the person gathering the data? It's a great question. And furthermore, the certification says that we are taking responsibility for that data. My question is this: how has this been any different than what you've been doing for 27 years? Hear me out. Okay, those of you who are screaming at your radio right now, I get it. I think it feels different to you, but I want you to step back maybe just a little bit. We are being asked to trust data by a third-party person that we don't know, and it's up to us to determine whether that data is credible or not. Okay? And what happens if we get it wrong? What if the value is wrong because the data is wrong and we trusted that wrong data? Folks, I get it. It's a concern. But how, may I repeat, is that any different than what we've been doing for decades? What am I talking about, you ask? Folks, how much of the data that you use for valuation that is a critical part of that valuation, how much of that data are you trusting because it came from a third party? Let me give you an example. Lot size. When was the last time that you went out or even had the skills to go out and survey a property and make sure that it's really 1.39 acres? You are trusting that data because it came from a third party. You don't know the surveyor. You don't know the recorder at the recorder's office. How do you trust that the subject's data is accurate? Well, Dustin, that's stupid. Of course it's accurate. It's the county. Really? Okay. Year built. There's another one. We base our information on a year built that affects our value. How often do we take a year built at point blank, whether it be the MLS, or most of us, I think, would rather go to a government entity for what reason, I don't know, and say, yeah, the year built is 1917. How many times over the last couple of decades that you've been appraising did you get it wrong? And you got it wrong because you trusted data that wasn't accurate. Folks, let me tell you a true story. A couple years into appraising, I asked the assessor one day, and this was back in the days when we had to go into the assessor to get information. And at one of the counties, I said, there's an awful lot of houses built in 1940. That is really weird. And it was just kind of an offhanded mark. And she goes, well, yeah, there's a reason for that. I'm like, and I'm thinking, there was a big building boom in 1940, middle of World War II. Why not? Right? No. Her explanation was, if we don't know the year built, but we're pretty sure it's old, we put 1940. Let that sink in. I kid you not, folks. Now, some of you are saying, well, so what? If the county says it's 1940, it's 1940. Is it? Really? What if it's 1812? And they're telling you it's 1940. Does that make a difference to you in your valuation process? And yet we trust this data that's collected by a third party, okay? And we've done it for many, many years. What about dates of remodel? When someone tells you, yeah, we remodeled this 18 months ago, okay? Can we trust that? Maybe it's in a county that doesn't have building permits. Did we even check the building permits, right? We're trusting data at the point of inspection sometimes by a third party, the homeowner, and we just take it at point blank. Well, it looks like it was done about 18 months ago. Sure, why not? What about rental data? How many times have you been lied to about rental data, right? For a multifamily or a single family that you're doing a rental schedule for? All the time. Okay? How about 100%? Well, maybe not 100%, but darn close. How often do you walk through the comparables that you use in your report? I know, silly. Come on, Dustin. That's just the way it's always been done. Folks, do you realize that 100% of the information that you're putting in there, that you're basing your value on, is given to you by a third party that you probably don't know? Now, how is this any different? Honestly, folks, I'm not trying to be silly, okay? We didn't even talk about drive-bys. How much do we just trust the data that we received on a drive-by? I can't tell you how often I've had conversations with individuals over the last couple of weeks who said, Dustin, I'm not really sure about these desktops. And I asked them, well, are you doing drive-bys? Well, yeah, I've been doing those for years. What's the difference? Honestly, what is the difference? Well, because of the certification. Folks, are you not making the same certification on a drive-by that you're making on a desktop, that you're trusting the data, that the data is credible? If you're not, then you're in violation of USPAP. Because USPAP says you have to trust the data, that it has to be credible. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm a shill for the AMC. Tell me I'm a shill for Fannie Mae, for gosh sakes. Come on. Bill Johnson, you're out there, buddy. Let's hear you. Come on, tell me. The bottom line is, folks, I'm as concerned as you are about these desktops. I'm going to proceed cautiously. Okay? I want to share with you that on the post that I'm talking about, I specifically said to the individual, if you don't trust that data, it's not just a good idea, it is your solemn duty to insist either on a larger scope of work or walk away from the assignment. Okay? If you think that the garbage that you're receiving is truly garbage, it is your responsibility. It's your USPAP ethical responsibility to say, I think we need to do a full appraisal. There's not enough good, credible data to do this. But those of you who are saying that that's true for every single desktop, I would challenge you a little bit, because you're gathering information from third parties all the time. Folks, I cannot tell you how awesome it is to get to know you appraisers, and I have been doing a lot of private one-on-one coaching lately, and I cannot wait to meet you specifically. Please reach out to me. Let me know how I can help you. You can find me on theappraisercoach.com.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.